how do you be a raw feeder and make it easy to train your dogs? Let me share with you how. I will give my dog training treats. So I'm training with a training pouch on sometimes, or I'll put my treats in my pockets, or if I have a hoodie on, the kangaroo pouch out in front. But I will always have my puppies or my adult dogs, if I'm training an adult dog, a stainless steel bowl of food and a spoon. Sometimes the training is that I can go in and feed them off of the spoon. Now, if I'm doing that, I'm really conscientious that, am I training on carpet? Well, I'm going to put down either a yoga mat, or I use a big piece of vulcanized rubber that I put down when I'm training off of a spoon, because there's a higher probability that I'm going to slop. I am not that careful. And so I want to be able to disinfect the area I'm training in afterwards. And so if I'm training on like the slate here in my house, not a big deal. I can just spray that down after. But if I'm training on something like even the interlocking foam puzzle pieces that I have on the training floor, I will still put something on top of that to make sure I can really disinfect that area afterwards. And so if I'm actually training with the raw, I will occasionally feed from a spoon. Yes, you have to learn to be really good at feeding with your left hand and your right hand. Most of the time, I'll have a much smaller bowl. And so I will put one spoonful into that and I'll put it on the floor. So I might be doing like hand targets. And if I get a nice hand target, I might drop the cookie from my bait pouch or from my pocket. Yes, the raw food's on the floor. So we've got It's Your Choice in play while I'm doing hand targeting. If I get a really, really good one, I give the location-specific marker that I spoke about in podcast episode 151. The one I'm using now is chow, which means you can take the food from the bowl. So when I see something that's brilliant, I just say chow. They get the cookies from the bowl. And then I refill the bowl, put it on the ground, go about our training. When I see excellence again, chow, they get the bowl. So it gives me that flexibility to really give the highest, most outrageous value reward at any instance, because it's there. It's right there. It's on the floor. Now, if you're training a really young puppy and they don't have that kind of awareness to know to keep working with you, they're not really sure about their location-specific markers, then you can keep that, say, up on a stool or a chair and present it to them until they're at a place where you can just have it on the floor. So I will use spoon. I will use a little tiny bowl. I will, of course, at the end of the training session, when I'm getting down to the end of their bowl, I will use the bowl that's housing all this food. I will also, let's say I'm going for a walk around the field. Then I often will put the food into a food tube. And here's the thing about being a raw food feeder and training your puppy or your dogs this way is you've got to be a little bit more strategic. So when you're planning your training session, it isn't just, well, what am I going to use to reinforce? It's going to be, what does the placement of reinforcement look like for me? So for every behavior, before I train it, I've actually visualized what that training looks like, and I know how and where I'll be placing the food reward. So do you think that will impact my training in a positive way, or it might hold me back a bit? Positive way, of course. Things roll along so much freer because of how intentional I am in the planning stage of what I'm doing. I see myself reinforcing the dog. I see what that's going to look like. I hope I've given you the clear path that shows you can not only feed your dog raw, but have an easy way to train them using raw as well.